All right, this is my week 23 NBA power rankings. Let's get started. So first up, we got a lot of injuries, got a lot of people coming back, being healthy, and a lot of people that are getting injured and essentially shut down for the rest of the season. So for the Hawks, Trae Young is doubtful this week. They got Kobe Buffkin and Jalen Johnson back, but they also lost AJ Griffin and Onyeka Okongwu for a week. The Pelicans got Dyson Daniels back, and Brandon Ingram's questionable this week. The 76ers, Robert Covington's questionable this week. Same with Joel Embiid. He's been out for almost 2 months now. The Blazers, Shaedon Sharp is questionable this week. Same with Malcolm Brogdon. And Tamani Kamara got injured for the rest of the season. The Knicks, Julius Randle will likely be back maybe next week or even after that. They did get Mitchell Robinson back, though, which is good. Lakers got Gabe Vincent back, and Jared Vanderbilt is questionable this week. Grizzlies lost Marcus Smart for the rest of the season. He's already been injured for, like 2 months or so, but they just officially shut him down for the rest of the season. The Rockets got Cam Whitmore back this week, which is good to help them get a little bit of a push there for that number 10 spot. The Kings got Sasha Vezenkov back, but they also lost Kevin Huerter for the season and Malik Monk for about 4 to 6 weeks. So the earliest he could come back is probably the second round of the playoffs if they were fortunate enough to make it that far. The Heat, Tyler Hero's questionable this week. The Cavs got Donovan Mitchell back. The Nets lost Keita Bates-Diop for the rest of the season. The Pistons lost Quentin Grimes for the rest of the season. The Spurs lost Jeremy Sohan and Devin Vassell for the rest of the season. And the Jazz lost Lauri Markkanen for the rest of the season. So a lot of different injuries happening. A lot of those teams at the bottom here are already eliminated from playoff contention, so there's really no point of having anybody try to play through an injury. But yeah, number 30 is going to be the Portland Trail Blazers. They're 19-56, went 0-3 this week, have 10 straight losses. So obviously not one of the best teams in the league right now, and they're currently the 14th seed, already eliminated from the playoffs. And they have a bunch of injuries on their team as well. So definitely one of the worst teams in basketball. Number 29 is going to be the Toronto Raptors, who are 23-51. They're only the 12th seed in the East right now, but they went 0-2 this week and have now lost 13 straight games. So if they don't win a game for the rest of the season, they'll be going like 20 straight games without a win to end the season, which is obviously not, a really good look for them. Number 28 is going to be the Washington Wizards. They're going to drop 4 spots. They're the 14th seed in the East. They went 0-3 this week, and they've been eliminated from playoff contention for quite a while. They lost to the Pistons this week, which is a little bit sad. Number 27 is going to be the Detroit Pistons, who are 13-62. They're the 15th seed. They went 1-2 this week, and like I just mentioned, their one win was against the Washington Wizards, so that's why they had to move up, just one spot over the Wizards there. Number 26 is going to be the Charlotte Hornets, who are 18-57. They're the 13th seed, and they've been eliminated for a while. They're 1-3 on the week. Their one win came against the Cleveland Cavaliers, which was good. Then they lost to 3 good teams in the Warriors, Clippers, and Celtics. So that's why they're going to move up about 3 spots here. Number 25 is going to be the Utah Jazz, who are 29-46. They're the 12th seed in the West, and they're now been officially eliminated from the playoffs. They went 0-3 this week and now have 9 straight losses. So definitely not a good look for them, considering 9 games ago they were, kind of close to be able to potentially make a push for that number 10 seed, and going on 9 straight losses right after that is definitely, not a great look for this team. Number 24 is going to be the San Antonio Spurs, who are 18-57. They're currently the 15th seed, and they went 2-1 on the week, which is actually a pretty good week for them. They beat the Jazz and the Knicks and only lost to the Warriors by 4, but then they did lose, Jeremy Sohan and Devin Vassell for the rest of the season, so that's definitely going to hurt them quite a bit there. Number 23 is going to be the Brooklyn Nets, who are currently the 11th seed. They're they're 6.5 games below the 10 seed there, so it's not likely that they're going to be able to jump up there. There's only about 8 or so games left for some of these teams for the rest of the season, so it's not going to be a fairly easy job to be able to make it back up there with only about 8 or so games left for all these teams. They did go 2-2 this week, which is okay. Beat the Wizards and Bulls, lost to the Lakers and Pacers. Number 22 is going to be the Memphis Grizzlies, who are 25 and 50. They're the 13th seed right now. They went 1-2 in the week. Um, they've been, have been having so many injuries throughout the entire season. Their only win was a 2-point win against the Detroit Pistons this week. Number 21 is going to be the 76ers, who are 40 and 35. They went 1-2 this week, currently sitting at the number 8 seed. They're 4.5 games above the 9 seed, so likely not going to see them dropping below the 8 seed, which is good. And they're only 1.5 games away from the 7 seed there, and only 2.5 games away from the 6 seed. So it's still possible that they could be able to fight their way up to a top 6 seed, which would be really good. But with only having, like 7, 8 games left for these teams, it's not going to be very easy for them to make a run up to the top 6, but it's definitely possible, especially with Joel Embiid potentially returning sometime this week. Number 20 is going to be the Chicago Bulls, actually, who are 36 and 40. They went 2-2 in the week, currently the 9 seed in the East. They're only half a game ahead of Atlanta. They just lost to Atlanta. They lost to the Hawks by 12 after beating the Minnesota Timberwolves this week. So a little bit interesting to see that they can beat the Timberwolves and then lose to the Hawks. But that Hawks game is going to be very important because now they're only half a game above the Hawks for the 9 seed. So if the Hawks were able to take them over, then they would get home court advantage in that 9-10 play-in game, which is going to be very, very important going into that game because neither one of these teams are going to likely be able to jump up to the 8 seed because the Bulls are a whole 4.5 games away from the number 8 seed. Number 19 is going to be the Atlanta Hawks because they're 35 and 40. The 10 seed, like I just said, half a game below the 9 seeded Chicago Bulls, and they just ended up beating the Chicago Bulls. They also beat the Celtics this week, which is really good for them. They do have a couple injuries now with Okongwu and Griffin being out for a week, but they did just get Jalen Johnson back as well, so that should hopefully make up for some of that. They went 3-1 in the week, which is pretty solid. They're 6.5 games above the number 11 seed Brooklyn Nets, so the Nets likely aren't going to be able to make any push there. So by the end of today or tomorrow, the Nets will likely be eliminated from playoff contention anyways. Number 18 is going to be the Indiana Pacers, who are 43 and 33. Currently the number 6 seed in the East. They went 2-1 this week, which is solid. Specifically, who'd they beat? They beat the Lakers and the Nets. They lost to the Bulls, but the Lakers win is good for them. Currently 1 game ahead of the 7 seed, only 1.5 games away from the 5 seed. So they very easily could see themselves anywhere from 8-3. They're within 2.5 games of the 8 seed and the 3 seed. So it wouldn't be too crazy to see them anywhere in that range still because they have about 6 or so games left. So if they go on a big run here towards the end, maybe they could find them at least in a top 4 spot. Number 17 is going to be the Houston Rockets, who are 38 and 36. They're the 11 seed in the Western Conference right now, doing pretty good. They're sitting 2 games below the 10 seed, and the 11 seed in the Western Conference has already been, or the 12 seed has already been eliminated. So they only have to worry about catching up to the Warriors, who are 2 games ahead of them, like I just said. It's going to be interesting. They did just get Cam Whitmore back, who should help them with that run a little bit. And they also beat the Oklahoma City Thunder this week, which was really, really good to see there. Number 16 is going to be the Miami Heat. They're 41 and 33. They're the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference right now. They went 2-1 in this week. They're currently sitting one game below the number 6 seed, only 1.5 games below or above the number 8 seed. So very easily could see them going anywhere between probably number 5 and number 8. They're only 2.5 games away from number 5. So we'd definitely like to see them stay above the number 8 seed, Philadelphia 76ers, which is going to be a very, very big game on Thursday between the Sixers and the Miami Heat. Number 15 is going to be the Golden State Warriors, who are 40 and 34, currently the number 10 seed. They did good this week, went 4-0 on the week, which is going to move them up quite a bit of spots here, moved them up 4 whole spots. They now have a 2-game lead above that number 11 seed Rockets, which is good. And they're only 1.5 games below the 9 seed. So, you could definitely see see them potentially jumping up to number 9, which is going to be good to get home court advantage for that first play-in game. Number 14 is going to be the Sacramento Kings, who are 43 and 31. They're the 8th seed in the West right now. We're one and a half games above the 9 seed, half a game behind the 7 seed, and they went 1-2 on the week, losing to the Dallas Mavericks twice. So they were the number 5 seed, I believe, before this week, and now they dropped all the way to number 7 or to number 8 because they did lose 2 games in a row to the Dallas Mavericks, who they were tied with. So definitely not a good look to see there. And they lost Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk for at least the rest of the regular season, which certainly not going to help them, be able to keep their playoff hopes alive at all. Right now, they're the 8th seed, only 1.5 games above the Lakers, and I could very easily see the Kings continue to fall down and maybe drop to a 9 seed or something. And either way, they're likely going to be locked into a play-in seed at this point, unless De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis can pick up the slack. And I don't know if the Sacramento Kings team, without Kevin Huerter and without Malik Monk, is going to be able to get past the Phoenix Suns or the Lakers/Warriors in the play-in tournament. Number 13 is going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 45 and 30. They're the 3 seed in the East, only 2.5 games behind the number 2 seed, sitting half a game above the number 4 seed. They did get Donovan Mitchell back this week, which is good, but they only went 1-2 on the week. Lost to the Hornets, beat the Sixers, and then lost to the Nuggets. So we definitely would have liked them to beat the Charlotte Hornets, but they're doing pretty solid, I would say. I mean, the 3 seed is definitely nothing to be upset about here, but they're only 1 game ahead of the 5 seed as well. So definitely want to keep them at least above the top 4 seeds. Number 12 is going to be the Orlando Magic, who are 44 and 31, currently the number 5 seed. They went 2-2 on the week. Let's see. They beat the Grizzlies and the Blazers, and they lost to the Warriors and Clippers. So they beat 2 bad teams and lost to 2 good teams, which is not great to see. You want to probably at least beat one of those 2 good teams there. But you're currently the 5 seed, only half a game away from the 4, only 1 game away from 3. And you got a 1.5 game lead above this number 6 seed. So as long as you guys don't go on a losing streak here, you should be a top 5 seed and very easily could find yourself going up to a top 4 seed, which would be really good to give you guys home court advantage in the playoffs. Number 11 is going to be the New York Knicks, who are 44 and 30. They went 1-2 on the week. Not the best week here for the New York Knicks. They beat the Toronto Raptors, but then they lost to the Spurs and they lost to the Thunder only by 1 point. They did get Mitchell Robinson back, which is good. Julius Randle could be back potentially next week. Same with OG Anunoby. So that's going to be really good to see if they guys can come back before the end of the regular season. But they'll likely still be back for round 1 of the playoffs if they don't come back in the regular season. So as long as they can find a way to stay in the top 4 seeds right now would be really, really good to give them home court advantage. But as long as they don't drop all the way down to number 7, which they got a 3-game lead over number 7, so as long as they don't drop down to the play-in tournament, they should be fine for the playoffs, even if they are a 6 seed, because then they'll end up be playing probably the Cleveland Cavaliers or something, who, I believe they played last year and actually won that round. So that'll be interesting to see a rematch there. Number 10 is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks, actually. They're 47 and 27. The number 2 seed in the East, 2.5 games above the 3 seed. They already cannot get the number 1 seed, but they're probably going to be locked into that 2 seed. But the reason they're all the way down here at number 10, they only went 1-2 on the week, and they lost this week to the Lakers and to the Pelicans. So their only win was against the Hawks. The Lakers and Pelicans are 2 good teams, but I had to put them down a couple spots because they did have a losing record this week. Number 9 is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans because they did just beat the Milwaukee Bucks. They still lost 3 games this week, but they played really, really good teams all week long. They lost to the Thunder, lost to the Celtics, and lost to the Suns. So having a schedule against the Celtics, Suns, Thunder, and Bucks is a really, really tough week. And walking out of there with 1 win is honestly not that bad. But that's why I'm going to put them above the Milwaukee Bucks, actually. They're currently the number 6 seed, half a game behind the 5 seed, only 2.5 behind the 4. They got a 1-game lead over that 7 spot. So as long as they don't have Um, as long as they have a good week this week, they should be good to be a top six seed. Just going to be really good because I don't know if this New Orleans Pelicans team is going to make it out of that play-in tournament if they were to fall down in there. Number 8 is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers, who are 42 and 33, currently the number 9 seed in the West. They went 3-1 on the week, which is pretty solid. They beat the Bucks, they beat the Grizzlies, they beat the Nets, and they lost to the Pacers, who are a pretty solid team as well. They also did get Gabe Vincent back. He's only played like 5 or so games this year, so getting him back before the playoffs is going to be good because hopefully he can be a good rotational piece. Jared Vanderbilt should be returning potentially sometime this week as well, which would be really good for them to see as well. They did. They are sitting at the 9 seed right now, 1.5 games above the 10, so they're probably going to be looking good there. But they're still 1.5 games behind the 7 or behind the 8 seed, so likely probably not going to be able to jump above them. But Sacramento Kings very easily could go on a losing streak, and the Lakers could find themselves jump up to the number 8 seed, and I would not be completely surprised there. The number 7 spot is going to go to the Denver Nuggets, who are 52 and 23. They're the 2 seed in the West, only half a game below the number 1, and only half a game above number 3. So they're likely going to fall in somewhere between the 1 and the 3 seed. They only went 1-2 on the week, which is why they're going to drop all the way down to number 7. They lost to the Suns and Timberwolves, who are good teams, but they beat the Cavs, who's also a good team. So they played 3 good teams this week, but because they lost to 2 of them, I had to drop them, below those teams that they lost to. So number 6 here, we're going to see the Phoenix Suns, who, like I just said, beat the Denver Nuggets. They're 44 and 31, the 7th seed in the West, half a game above the number 8 seed. That should say 8, not 9. And they're 1 game behind the number 6 seed, which is pretty solid. Very easily could see them jumping ahead of the New Orleans Pelicans to be a top 6 seed. And they went 2-1 on the week. Like I said, they beat the Denver Nuggets. They also beat the Pelicans, which is good. And they lost to the Thunder, which is, fine. But they're sitting only 1 game behind the New Orleans Pelicans. So that win against them this week was really, really meaningful. Number 5 is going to be the Los Angeles Clippers, who are 47 and 27, currently the 4th seed in the West, 2 games above the 5 seed. 4 games behind the 3 seed, so I would expect them to probably stay there at the number 4 seed, which will be good to get them home court advantage. Going 3-0 this week is a really good feat for them. They play the Sixers, Magic, and Hornets, so not necessarily the toughest schedule, but going undefeated there is obviously really good. Number 4, we're going to see the Dallas Mavericks, who are 45 and 29. They're currently the number 5 seed, only half a game above the 6th seed. Only 1.5 games above the number 7 seed, and they're sitting 2 games behind the number 4 seeded Los Angeles Clippers. They went 3-0 this week and now have 7 straight wins, which is good for the longest winning streak now in the NBA. Nobody else has even won more than 3 games or 4 games in a row, so they're doing good there. And this week they beat the Sacramento Kings twice, and they beat the Houston Rockets. Number 3 is going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are 51 and 23. They're currently the number 3 seed. They're only half game behind the number 2, only 1 game behind the number 1. They got a 4-game lead over number 4, so they'll likely stay somewhere within that top 3 range. They beat the Pistons, they beat the Nuggets this week, and they lost to the Chicago Bulls. It's not a great loss to see there, but beating the Nuggets, kind of makes up for it. Number 2 here, we're going to see the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are 52 and 22, currently the 1 seed in the West, half a game above 2, 1 game above 3, and then 5 games above number 4. So they'll likely fall somewhere within that 1 to 3 range, along with Minnesota and Denver. This week they went 3-1, which is pretty solid. They beat the Pelicans, the Suns, and the Knicks, and their loss was to the Houston Rockets, which is not a great loss, but beating those other teams kind of makes up for it, and they're still staying at the number 1 seed in the West, so they can't really be too upset about anything here. And the number 1 is obviously going to be the Boston Celtics. Still, they're 59 and 16. They clinched the number 1 seed like a while ago. About to that 60-win mark here, which is going to be really good to see. They went 2-1 on the week. They beat the Pelicans and the Hornets, and they lost to the Atlanta Hawks in a game what I believe was like a 20-point comeback for Atlanta. So kind of not good to see there out of Boston, but you're still very clearly the number 1 team record-wise in the NBA, and I still got you number 1 in my rankings. So going to my top performers of the week, Anthony Davis had 34 and 23 with 2 steals and 4 blocks. That's an amazing game there. Devin Booker dropped a 50 piece on 8 of 16 from three. Giannis had a 29 and 21 game with 11 assists. That was actually the same game where Anthony Davis had 34 and 23. So there was two 2020 games in the same game, which is kind of insane. Giannis also had a separate game where he put up 36, 16, and 8. Just amazing performances from Giannis. Jordan Poole put up 38, 7, and 8. Jokic had a 26, 18, and 16 game. Pretty good numbers for him there. Jalen Green had 37, 10, and 7 assists on 7 of 11 from 3. LeBron had 23, 14, and 12. Good triple-double there. Then he put up 40 points on 9 of 10 from 3, which is insane. He had over 100% true shooting percentage, which I don't even know how that's possible. Victor Wembanyama had 19, 8, and 6 with 5 blocks. Then he put up 40 and 20 against the New York Knicks. In the same game, Jalen Brunson put up 61 points. Then he had another game where he put up 32 points with 4 steals and 3 blocks. KD had a 30-point game with 13 boards and 5 blocks. Paul George had a 41-point game on 8 of 12 from 3. DeJounte Murray put up 44 on like 44 shots. Then Jalen Brunson, topped that with 61 points on like 47 shots, which is freaking insane. Luka put up 47 and 12 with 7 assists on 9 of 16 from 3. Sabonis had his routine triple-double there. Jaren Jackson actually put up 40 points this week as well. So many really good performances from this week. Now let's go into our award races. So MVP, Jokic stays at 1. Luka actually jumps above Shea to number 2. He went from like the 8 seed to the 5 seed this week, so that's got a big part to do with it. And Shea drops down to number 3 with Giannis and Tatum staying at 4 and 5. Rookie of the Year is the exact same with Wemby, Chet, Miller, Hawkes, and Podziemski. Wembanyama probably got that one locked up completely by now. Most Improved Player, mostly the same. Maxey and White stay at 1 and 2. Jalen Williams actually jumps above Kuminga to number 3, while Kuminga drops to 4, and then Jalen Johnson stays at number 5. Sixth Man of the Year is the exact same with Malik Monk, Naz Reid, Norman Powell, Bobby Portis, and Karis LeVert. Malik Monk being out for the last 2 weeks of the season could hurt his chances, but he'll still meet the game requirement, which is going to be good. So he'll likely still be able to win that award. Naz Reid or Norman Powell could potentially make a push in the last couple of weeks without Malik Monk playing, but he should still have a solid chance to make that. Clutch Player of the Year, you got DeRozan and Curry staying at 1 and 2. Then you actually got Shea going above Dame to get 3, and then Dame drops to 4. DeJounte Murray finds his way in at number 5. Coach of the Year, Daignault stays at 1. Chris Finch jumps above Jamal Mosley for number 2, while Mosley drops to 3, and then Joe Mazzulla and Rick Carlisle stay at 4 and 5. And Defensive Player of the Year, you got Rudy Gobert and Wembanyama at 1 and 2. Anthony Davis actually jumps from 5 all the way to number 3, jumping above Bam Adebayo, who drops to 4, and Jarrett Allen, who drops to number 5. So that is going to be the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check back next week for an updated Power Rankings list, and make sure to watch my UFL videos as well.